Hey, okay, so we're gonna go check out Nettles. I have some sheep friends with me, as you can hear. And the first place I'm gonna go is the nettles that are in the sun, because those will bolt first. That is, wait, we just have to take a moment. Seriously? That is one of our little ones, particularly, that's Aurora. Let me see if I can get that camera to flip around now. Here. I don't know if you can see her. Let me just take a look. I don't know. This is Laurel, but that little one out there is making all that sound. She does this all the time. She's decided to go off by herself, and then get mad that the rest of the herd's not there with her. I don't know. She's young, right? All right, totally fine. Anyway, first area that I'm going to go for is an area that's in the sun with the nettles, and then I'm going to integrate this into my food tonight. So I'm just going to put a bag on my hand to pick them. I'll still get a little bit of a sting. You can also take scissors and just kind of pick the leaves off with the scissors, and that works really well. But for right now, let's see, I'm just going to, yeah, we have help. See that? That would be Priscilla helping. They all think they're going to get a little food. I try not to take the whole plant. I'm just going to grab what I can, and I try to just get them picked off. Ugh. And I get a little bit of a sting, but that's why if you want to wear thicker gloves, just like rubber gloves is fine. That's one of our little ones, but not the one that's causing all the trouble out there. So anyway, you can just, I don't know if you can see that, or I'm just like doing a little snap and that I'm not getting stung at all. You still have to be careful if you're worried about getting stung. I don't so much. In fact, some people intentionally sting their hands or knees or places for the anti-arthritic quality. So I just figured, you know what, one of my health issues has been circulation in the hands. So for a while I'd get up every morning and go out and pick some nettles and make them that day. I juiced them normally. Today I'm going to cook with them for my family. They actually, even though they don't always love all the healthy food I do, they do generally like nettles, believe it or not, even better than spinach. So I'm gonna make them some nettles. Here. So I talked to you about how I was gonna integrate some nettles into the food that I'm doing. So I was just out picking, and I have a nice bag full of nettles. My hands feel just fine, actually. And then the other thing I was going to talk about is, for a lot of people, not only is it learning how to use wilds and foods that are local for healthy, how do you eat for less money and still stay healthy? I'm not saying I have all the answers right here, but I just want to show you some of the things I'm doing. So I'm not going to have you go through all the things. I'll break this video up a little bit. But so these foods here came from Imperfect Foods, and there's some grocery stores in certain areas that will offer foods that basically normally would end up thrown away, that then get into the markets. So you pay 30% to 50% less than you would otherwise. Where we live, a grocery store is quite expensive. I mean, if you have 3 bags of food, you'd be looking at a few $100s even. And you know, generally I do buy organic. So that adds to it, but it's still just pretty expensive. So what I'm doing is I'm using from foods that already are going to be less expensive. I have the Imperfect Foods subscription, and there's other names for stores that basically are for foods that would normally get thrown away. And some of the foods are beautiful, and some of them need a little bit of help. Like this squash, not so gorgeous, right? So then all those foods, so if I get apples like that, I turn them into an apple bake where I don't use sugar. I'll do that one at some point. Or just cut them up pretty finely. Let me see, I don't know if you can see that. There you go. Just cut them up pretty finely. And I'm dry frying. So first I'm water frying, and I'm going to show you what I use for that to add some more flavor. And I'm going to start with the onions and the squash and get them kind of browned. I'm not going to put this in there, that's for my compost. We're fortunate in that our water is pretty purified here. We have a filtration system on the entire house. So I use some of our filtered water. The thing about filtered water, just so you know, is A lot of the bottled waters you get are basically tap water from another location. So, you know, I don't even bother with a bottled water or craft water unless I know it's truly from a good source, because it's basically the same. And also, as far as toxicity levels with water, you know, 50% of your toxin level is absorbed through your skin. So that is just some of the organic Better Than bouillon. That's what I use as part of my dry saute. So it adds a lot of flavor to the food without having to use a lot of other spices. And then, so I'm going to start with actually onion, squash, and then some celery. So just about the water too. So the other thing about a lot of the bottled water is some of it's just from other tap sources, and then you have to consider the plastic phenomena. So if it's from anywhere warm, it's been in a warm environment, in a truck or in the sun, and then that causes an increase in the chemicals to go into the water. And most people know about BPA, bisphenol A, but there's a lot of other chemicals we just don't know about. I actually had the opportunity to meet and talk to the scientist that discovered the whole BPA phenomena, and she found there's a lot of other chemicals that we just don't know about. So some people, you'll see things that say, hey, BPA free, but it's still plastic. So generally, try to use tap water. If you don't have a filtered system, look into it for your home, and then take that water with you wherever you go. But if you're out and about, getting bottled water, it's bad for the environment. You're probably getting some chemicals in your water anyway, and the water's coming from. There are some of those glass bottled waters. You just really have to look into your sources for those. And then, you know, again, they're being shipped all over. You have to check in with that company to see if they're still being ethical. All right, so I've got the celery, squash, onions here cooking, dry frying in the Better Than bouillon. I'm gonna add in a little bit, I'm gonna add in some asparagus, some shiitake mushrooms. They're all in the package of food that I got. And I'm not sure if I'm gonna add in the polenta I got. Something that, organic tofu cutlets are half the price of baked tofu. I know people have a lot of mixed feelings about tofu. However, actually there's a lot of research showing that it's cancer protective and can be significantly cancer protective, especially in women, but in general, across the board, colon, prostate, especially if it's eaten during menarche or menopause, but in general, it's pretty good for you. So some of my clients that maybe have had breast cancer, they worry about doing tofu, and even my people who are at the highest risk of breast cancer, there are doctors, there are oncologists who are doing research are saying, no, actually I want you to eat a lot of soy product. So I like having tofu, and the baked tofu is easy. You can just grab it and go, but it's expensive. It's like $4 or $5 a pack. The organic tofu cutlets are like $2 or $3, and they taste great. So that's also why I'm gonna put some of this in there. All right, I'm gonna work on this for a little, and then I'll show you a little bit more what it looks like. Oh, sorry. I'll show you a little bit more what it looks like later. All right, so that's Bob trying to fight someone outside the window. I don't know why he's doing that, but we're gonna flip this around, hopefully. Okay, now you get to see me instead of Bob. All right, so what I've done so far is I cut up the asparagus into like probably inch or so pieces. I already had and some mushrooms, the shiitake mushrooms are just like little pieces there. I already got the onions and the celery down to a semi-translucent state in that earlier kind of dry saute. And then I cut up the tofu cutlets into how I like, just like kind of little bite-sized pieces. So then I'm just kind of stirring this, and so far it's really just, you could put some fresh garlic or ginger in if you want, something like that. It's just the bouillon right now and this. And then I'll just put salt or pepper on it. Now the other thing that you can do to lower your oil intake, so this is all dry saute, no oil in it yet, are these, this is an avocado spray. It's good for high heat. And then the nice thing is this has basil, oregano, and rosemary in it, which are awesome herbs, which we'll go through some of those in herbal aspect for medicinal quality. But culinary, what's really cool is you don't have to put a bunch in. You just spray on top. or you might just want to spray it on top before you eat it, it reduces your oil intake significantly, which lower oil intake is a great idea. Now at the end here, we're just going to put our nettles in. I'm just going to throw these on. You can rinse them if you want. I don't worry too much about rinsing them. But basically, you're just going to let these kind of stir in. And what they'll do is they're going to wilt down just a lot like spinach. So just like with spinach, I usually do spinach towards the end because it breaks down pretty easy. I would say nettles break down a little bit less easy than spinach. All right, I'm gonna stir this for a little bit until all the nettles look something like closer to spinach, and then I'll get back to you. Okay, so I don't know if you can see pretty clearly there. I'm gonna bring this a little bit closer for you. All the nettles are nicely, here, I'll show you, they're wilted completely. So, and then what I'm gonna do right here at the end is just, I have a little gamazio, I think is how you say it. I forgot exactly how you say it. It's a Japanese, these are for sushi and other stuff. I like to just sprinkle a little bit on top because this one has seaweed and sesame. Sesames are really good for your lungs, for longevity, and then seaweed is too. If you can, you want to get at least a little bit of seaweed in every day. And then I'm going to put a little bit of lemon on top. And you're done. And it's really good actually.